Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Champions League match preview video where things just seem to get better in Europe for Celtic this season. Can that trend continue tomorrow? In which, when you consider all the context surrounding it, is one of the biggest games at Celtic Park in recent European memory. A huge game where the result will have massive ramifications on what the rest of this campaign will be for Celtic. It's a big one. Let's talk about that. You know what to do by now. Please make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get as close as we can to 50k by the end of 2024. So go down below, hit both those buttons. It's absolutely free. If you want to become a channel member, then the link is in the top line of the description as well. Nonetheless, we have a huge Champions League game to preview. And this season, you know what? It's been a joy to talk about the Champions League, except that one game against Dortmund. Take that away, and it's been an absolute joy to cover the Champions League this season for Celtic. And tomorrow night, the pressure is on because it's huge stakes. And if you win tomorrow, there's a potentially even bigger reward down the line. So Celtic have their work cut out for them. It's not an easy task. We welcome Club Brugge to Celtic Park. The Belgian champions visit the Scottish champions. We're going to preview that. So Champions League football returns to Celtic Park tomorrow, and it's been fantastic at Celtic Park so far this season, hasn't it? 2 wins out of 2 in those opening 4 games. Match day 5 is the third Champions League game at Celtic Park. I mean, 5-1 against Slovan Bratislava on the opening night. 3-1 against RB Leipzig, one of the top teams in Germany. It's been great so far. 8-2.
I never ate 2 a.m.
That's the aggregate score, by the way. 8-2 in European nights at Celtic Park this year. We waited a decade to win a game at Celtic Park in the Champions League. And we've done it twice this season. We're looking to make it 3 times tomorrow. But listen, we've got to treat our opponents with respect. There's no gimmies in this competition. None of these games are easy. Doesn't matter if you're playing Slovan Bratislava. Doesn't matter if you're playing Leipzig or Club Brugge or Real Madrid or Liverpool. Every single game is a challenge in its own right. And tomorrow, well, we can't get ahead of ourselves just yet. We have all the proof in the pudding to believe that Celtic can win tomorrow night, that we should favour ourselves going into the game tomorrow night. But Club Brugge haven't been too shabby themselves. So, you know, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Here is the league table going into match day 5 of the UEFA Champions League in this new format. I mean, look at that. Celtic in 15th place. 4 games played, 7 points from those 4. I would have chewed your hand off if you offered me that start to the competition. But Club Brugge not too far behind us in terms of points, down in 22nd place, which keeps them in the top 24 for now with 6 points, 2 wins out of 4. And a fairly impressive start to the campaign for themselves. They haven't been too bad, and even in defeat have showed positives. And of course, the team who ended Aston Villa's perfect start to the competition, they are a formidable opponent. And I know that when this group was drawn and when these games were handed to us, we all fancied our chances against Brugge at Celtic Park. We all said that's one of the games we should be getting 3 points. That's still true. That is obviously still the case. And listen, you would be lying to yourself if you didn't think this is one of the more favourable games in the competition for us. But at the end of the day, with the pressure that has been raised on this game, with the opportunity for Celtic to all but confirm a place in that top 24 tomorrow night, things will get a bit trickier. And things are getting a wee bit more desperate for every club in the competition. So, you know, Brugge, who really want to be in that top 24, they will raise their game tomorrow. And off the back of a 7-0 win at the weekend, we aren't playing no mugs. This is, of course, a winnable game for Celtic. You would rather Club Brugge than Real Madrid at Celtic Park tomorrow night. If you could pick teams in the competition to play tomorrow, any of them, Club Brugge are probably closer to the top of that list of teams you'd want to play. And I still say that while respecting them. And I understand tomorrow could go either way. And that's why we need to talk about the bigger picture of this game and what it means. Should we win, should we lose tomorrow night? Because if we do win, it puts us in a really good place. It puts us in a place which effectively guarantees us a spot in that top 24, which is where you need to be. That's where you want to be. If we win tomorrow night, it also starts the conversation of whether or not top 8 is possible for Celtic. But we'll take it one game at a time. Losing tomorrow night would would create a bit more of a problem. You know, we'd have to go and win our next couple of games. We'd need to make up for losing a game at Celtic Park. Realistically, with how we've performed so far, not only in the Champions League, but domestically, we should fancy our chances tomorrow. We should be confident of Celtic Football Club. But that pressure that is there to win the game, that pressure that's on us to continue that great form and beat a team who, on paper, aren't as good as a Leipzig, will that affect Celtic? Will classic European Celtic come out? Will we make those mistakes? Will we pass it straight to the opposition? Will Kasper Schmeichel have a nightmare? Will Celtic Park spontaneously combust because of the pressure that is on Celtic tomorrow? Well, this is where your mettle is tested, and this is where we'll find out the real sort of attitudes and just where we stand as a club right now, where we stand as a team right now, how far we've come. We will find all of that out tomorrow night, because I know we've said this a lot, but it truly does feel like the biggest game of our season tomorrow. And coming off the back of an international break, I feel like we've not got to talk about that too much, but tomorrow night does feel like a game where it really could be the talking point of our season. The game where we secured ourselves a place in the final 24. A game where Celtic really showed their true colours as a club in continental competition. This could be a game we talk about for years to come. But I want it to be a game where we talk about for years to come for all the right reasons and not all the wrong reasons. Now, at the time of recording this video, we still await Brendan Rodgers' press conference with the media. I just want to make that clear. But I can already guarantee you that Brendan Rodgers will have given that team the team talk of a lifetime today at Lennox Town. That he'll give them the team talk of a lifetime tomorrow night at Celtic Park before kick-off. That Brendan Rodgers will be feeling just as good as he has, maybe even better than he has for every European game this season. With the way that we have started this campaign, I have never felt so confident. The team has never looked so good going into these sorts of games. Even in the season where we went invincible in 2016-17, we didn't start that campaign better than we've started this campaign, both domestically and on a European level. So right now, we deserve to feel good going into this. And that's while respecting the opposition. That's while acknowledging that they could come to Celtic Park and get a result tomorrow. But if you don't feel good about Celtic at the minute, then I really don't know what make you will. Let's talk about the opposition. It's a match preview for a reason. You want to hear about Club Brugge. Well, let's get talking about them. They are currently the champions of Belgium. They won the league in dramatic fashion last year. It went right down to the final day of the season. They pipped Union Saint-Gilloise to the league title on the final day. And a big part of that was none other than Ronny Deila. That's right, Ronny Deila, former Celtic manager, former league winner at Celtic Football Club. He was in charge for the vast majority of the season last year, and it's a shame because this year I would have loved to come up against him. I would have loved to have seen Ronny Deila back at Celtic Park. However, they sacked him midway through March and gave the job to caretaker manager Nicky Hagen, sorry about the pronunciation, big man, who currently still remains manager and has been enjoying a fine start to life as Bruges boss. Winning that league title last season and taking the club back into the Champions League. Club Brugge, as I mentioned earlier on, have started this campaign pretty well with wins over Aston Villa and Sturm Graz of Austria. They are in contention for a top 24 place, and they will understand the importance of that with their trip to Celtic Park tomorrow night. In terms of form and league position right now, it hasn't been as good. They find themselves 6 points behind Genk at the top of the Belgian Pro League at the minute, but a 7-0 win at the weekend. That's right, 7-0. And I believe that the team they beat 7-0 is the team that beat Ronny Deila in his final game as Bruges manager. So they are out for blood at the minute. They are feeling themselves. They've won a couple of games, and it won't make life easy. I tell you that. They've got a decent squad. A couple of names that you'll definitely recognise in that Club Brugge squad. Simon Mignolet in goals, former Liverpool keeper for a number of years, now in the kind of later stage of his career, played under Brendan Rodgers, I believe, as well at Liverpool. Of course, Andreas Skov Olsen, who last year was in the Premier League now in Belgium and playing pretty well at that. 5 goals, 3 assists for him so far in 19 games this season. Their best player seems to be at the minute Hans Vanaken, attacking midfielder, the only player to have played in every single game for them this season. And a few other talented names. You're definitely not coming up against the Club Brugge side who are as good as, Leipzig, who we played a few weeks ago, I would say. But a team that, for some reason, or one reason or another, I should say, have made their way to being champions of Belgium. A good team with talent all round. A couple of names as well that you will recognise that have been linked with Celtic or played with Celtic in the past. Ardon Jashiri, a midfielder who was linked with Celtic a couple of years back, I believe, when Ange Postecoglou was still in charge. He is playing for Club Brugge at the minute, and international for Switzerland as well, was at the Euros in the summer. Looked a really good player, still does look a really good player, and I was hoping that Celtic signed him at the time. He plays there. And Dedrick Boyata, that's right, Dedro, Big Dedro himself. He is a Bruges player, but we won't be seeing him at Celtic Park tomorrow night. He isn't registered for the Champions League. He's not played all season, in fact. I think his career is pretty much over, and I was doing a wee bit of reading that he's once again fell out with another manager, and that is the current Bruges boss, just like he fell out with managers here and everywhere. But Dedrick Boyata, I wonder if he'll travel alone and sit in the stands, come and visit Celtic Park. I'm glad he's not playing, to be honest, because no one in our luck could score a hat-trick. So, that's good. Now, as for the style of football and what we should expect from Bruges tomorrow at Celtic Park, it's obviously a similar situation to what Celtic would usually be doing, because Bruges are one of those clubs in Belgium who are up at the top end, who are used to winning games a lot, and one of the sides that are continuously battling for league titles. But the new manager who's come in, Mr. Hayen, however it is pronounced, he has changed the way they play. They're a lot more secure, they're a lot more possession based than what they've been in recent years. That's the thing about Bruges, they do like to try and keep the ball. They set up with that sort of 4-2-3-1 tactic, and they like to be possession based. They like to have as much of the ball as they can. The thing is, at Celtic Park, Celtic are going to want more of the ball. Celtic should have more of the ball, so it'll be interesting to see how they adapt. Apparently very, very fond of the wide channels. They like to get out wide, so it's going to be a big job tomorrow night for Alistair Johnston and whatever left back starts. I assume that will be Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor needs a good performance. There's no doubt about that. He will need to face that challenge and take it with every bit of his ability that he possibly can. He was really poor in Dortmund. So was everybody, to be fair, but he was incredibly poor. He was hooked at half-time. And that's probably where my reservation would come. If they do like to play down the wide channels, if they like to get out wide and hug the byline and get balls into the box or have players cutting in, Greg Taylor needs to be on his A-game. I have no doubts that Alistair Johnston will deal with it. We've seen it time and time again. But both fullbacks need to be on their game. Skov Olsen, good player. He's on that right-hand side, I believe. I do fear what he could maybe do to Greg Taylor in isolation. Hopefully, not left isolated all that much. Their fullbacks like to get high and they like to overlap. They will then invert into the park. It is that modern take on football that most clubs play, but watch out on those left and right hand sides. Brendan Rodgers will know what he's doing, right? Listen, you don't need to listen to me. You don't need to worry about me telling the team what to do. I'm not the manager. Christ, I wouldn't get near a set of tactics jotters. There's no way. But yeah, they seem to like to play down the wings. They like to get as much of the ball as possible. I think if Celtic can control the game tomorrow night, and if we can keep them quiet on both flanks, we should deal with them pretty well. But this is a good team with players who can hurt us. We cannot sleep on them. And we've seen what Celtic done against Leipzig. We know how we can play in these games now. What we done on the night there, we adapted to the challenge. What we done against Bratislava was adapt to the challenge. What we done in Atalanta was seriously adapt to the challenge. I think that what we've showed is a great adaptability this year, and if we've done our homework right, we should be able to do that against Bruges. So control the game, do what we normally do, use our pace. I think that our pace could be a huge advantage. It always is, but tomorrow night especially, I think it could be even bigger. I don't look through that Bruges team and see players that I'm familiar with being relatively fast. So get Maeda on the ball, get him powering down the wing and cause them problems. Get Kyogo bombing in behind. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. So it's time for the starting 11 prediction. You'll see it on screen. Now, there is no many surprises in my starting 11 prediction. I do feel like the team ultimately picks itself, and barring any huge news at the press conference this afternoon, I don't expect Celtic to make many changes. Now, I know there's been a lot of conversation about perhaps dropping Arne Engels. I don't see Brendan Rodgers doing it. At the end of the day, this is a team prediction, not with the team that I want to see. And I just think that Brendan Rodgers will go with that midfield three of Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, and Rio Hatate, because it's not let him down in Europe yet. So I don't see why he would change it. I know a lot of people are saying that Engels hasn't been great, hasn't been doing what he needs to do for an £11 million player. But Brendan Rodgers seems happy with him. I'm happy with him. To a certain extent, I realise that he has to do better. But in Europe especially, I haven't been too disheartened by his performances. And at the end of the day, as a Belgian, might give us a wee bit of insider knowledge, you know. So I think that's the midfield three for me. And the rest of the team, I think, picks itself. Kyogo needs to start up top. As I said, I think the pace could hurt Brugge tomorrow night. As a team who like to just kind of hold the ball and be comfortable in the game, who don't rely on counter-attacking football. I think that through the middle we could hurt them, get Kyogo starting, get Maida supporting them, get Kuhn supporting them, and do our best with that front three. I think the biggest conversation in the entire starting 11 comes at left back, where I would like to see Alex Valley start. I would. But I think it will be Greg Taylor. So Taylor is in my starting 11 prediction. I just don't see Brendan Rodgers dropping him after the weekend. But it's a huge game, as I said. And I think their threat comes from their left and right wing. And the ability to get in the park and having their fullbacks invert as well. I think it all comes from out wide. So both fullbacks need to have a really good game tomorrow. But it's not a surprise from me what team starts. So it might be a bit boring, but ho-hum. Which leads me to the part of the video I would usually do my score predictions, but I've kind of withheld from doing score predictions in the Champions League this season, and it's worked out pretty well for us, so I'm going to withhold them again. I'm just hoping that everything I've said in the video about Celtic taking advantage of Brugge and stuff will come to fruition, but I'm gonna hold back once more because I'm feeling good. I'm not going to ruin it by jinxing it, so there you go. You can guess what my score prediction is, right? Got it? There you go. That's my score prediction. You'll know what it is. Anyway, if you have enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. There should be another kind of mini preview and discussion video on the channel early tomorrow with Hamish from Celtic AM. So look out for that if we get recording tonight. And of course, I'll be back on the channel tomorrow night with the match reaction video. So still a lot to talk about, still a lot to get through. Yeah, so thank you, I appreciate you, like and subscribe, and hail hail.